Another edition of Riding Home. Dean Legge and Matt DeBary. James Coley was on was in the proverbial hot seat today, talking with reporters. I thought Anthony Dasher's question was basically straight to the point. Hey, what he didn't say. Dash didn't put it this way, but he said, "Wait, what's the deal with the offense?"
Yeah, he wasn't getting grilled by the media, but they asked him, "What's going on? How do you plan on fixing it? And what's going to happen on Wednesday night?" And yeah, he answered the question well, like you said earlier, but he's missing a lot of guys. But he took advantage, or he took the responsibility for the offense, as he should.
He should. I mean, and he's getting paid a lot of money. He's in a position where, he should be performing. But at the same time, and I wrote about this earlier today on the site on dogpost.com. He's right. I mean, they're without a lot of guys right now. I mean, and particularly in the passing game. And he said, and I don't know if everybody paid attention to what he said at the time, but he said from the first quarter of the South Carolina game on, we've basically been a different offense, and that was when Cager got hurt. Yeah. And he's right.
Cager was huge for this offense on so many levels. Made a lot of big plays, Notre Dame, Florida, and so on.
One thing, real quick on that. I asked Jake Fromm earlier today, was there anybody that, and he watched lately on film from incoming guys that he said, wow. He said, oh, not really. He said, oh, well, Cager. So he knew Cager was going to be good from the start, apparently. But when Cager got hurt in that Carolina game, they literally have not been the same since. Even though they played well against Florida and were efficient against Florida, that was a fight, and they didn't just push Florida around. And they needed Cager to win that game too.
That was the guy he had the most chemistry with.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's gained a little bit with George Pickens and was picking up some chemistry with Dominic Blaylock. But, I mean, it did not play well, but James Coley really took it upon himself, and I thought he should have. And it's so tough because going into the season, we talked about how great the offensive line was, and Jake Fromm is a junior, and the stable of backs. The Georgia fans expected this offense to be better than it was last year. It took a step back. And again, this is the same fan base that killed Mike Bobo for scoring 40 points a game.
Right.
And James Coley is not – Georgia's offense hasn't struggled like this since the Brian Schottenheimer year. That was brutal. But Georgia fans have come accustomed to scoring a lot of points and the quarterback playing really well, except for a few years here and there that have kind of been scattered. So – yeah, the offense definitely needs some work, and you wrote all about it on Dog Post today.
I do. It's hard to be sympathetic towards Coley, frankly, partly because we don't see him. I mean, I don't know the guy at all. Right. This is the second time he's ever spoken to the media that I can recall at Georgia, but. You don't ever know the situation. He explained it, I thought, very well. I mean,
he handled the whole press conference, I thought, really well.
He explained it very well, and the reality is, Georgia's fortunate they're playing who they're playing, in my opinion. I mean, if they were going up against we saw what happened with LSU, and they just didn't have the firepower to go because look, DeAndre Swift's not right now. Something's wrong. Pickens is probably their best, most explosive player on offense right now. Yeah. But, Swift's not going to be right. Harion's not there. Cook narrowly, he was arrested earlier this month on a misdemeanor drug charge. And Zamir hasn't looked like he looked in high school since the 2 ACLs. In addition to 3 starting offensive linemen not being in this game, and as you said earlier, Cager, Blaylock. I mean, there's a lot of guys missing on this offense, and yet I go out to practice today, and you watch the team, and it's hard not to notice Pickens, and it's hard not to see other guys out there that look the part, and you're just like, well, when is this going to happen, or is it not going to happen?
If you're an average football fan and you went and saw Georgia's practice, the guys you're pointing out are, hey, who's number 5? Right. Who's number 1? Who's number 12? All these guys who look the part. Obviously, George Pickens is the one who's made the most impact on the field, and I can expect him to have a career high in catches and yards against Baylor. He's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way. But the potential is there, But I do think losing 3 offensive linemen is huge in this game. That's going to be the matchup to look forward to, if you're just an average fan. But Baylor's defensive line, they do a really good job, and one of the biggest reasons they've made it this far. And again, Georgia's without both of their tackles, their guard. Warren Erickson's making his first start. Trey Hill has not been super impressive all year. And Solomon Kinley has not been the same player he was last year or 2 years ago either.
There's ways around. There's ways around dealing with, your issues in sports. I mean, maybe they'll go with quick game. Maybe they'll just go hurry up. I mean, you don't have the power offense right now that you've grown accustomed to seeing from Kirby teams in 16, 17, and 18. Even though they were just not great in 16, they were a power team with Nick and Sony. That's not there right now. I mean, maybe you go quick game and ignore the tight ends and get the ball out quick to James or Zamir, but really you'd get the ball out quick to the receivers and so forth. The
passing game has to help because
yes,
there's no reason why Georgia shouldn't be running over everyone with this offensive line. And again, DeAndre Swift hasn't been healthy.
I still fully expect them to beat Baylor, and I think one reason why is because I think Baylor's going to struggle to score. And that's hard to reconcile when you're a team. I mean, Georgia knows all about struggling to score. But
J.R. Reed is not playing, and he's a good player, but he's not a game changer for the defense.
J.R. is replaceable.
Exactly. The defense should still be very good. And
is he the only guy missing?
Along the defense.
Starters?
Devon Wilson's not a starter.
Right.
But he's a guy who plays.
I feel
like I'm missing someone.
Listen. Here's we're LSU is favored by 5.5 over Clemson. And you think
I'll take LSU to cover that
all
day.
Georgia's favored by 5.5 over Baylor. So, I mean, if you take off the helmets and you just look at it, everybody's thinking that last year's game is going to happen again this year, and I find that a little hard to believe myself, just because, Kirby sounded like a crazy person today. A lot of energy, They were coaching the kids hard, no question.
But I feel like they should have been doing that last year, and they did not get up for Texas at all. They came out slow. They fought back and probably would have won that game if they played another quarter.
Maybe.
But they came out just slow and lethargic. They can't have that happen because Baylor's going to come ready to play. They are excited to be here, just like Texas was last year.
But Texas could score last year, and that was the difference to me compared them to Baylor. This year, I don't know a lot about Baylor beyond what I saw with them playing OU. I think we saw them playing Texas Tech, or who did they play that we watched? No, it was TCU.
That's right.
It was me, you, and Dylan. We were screaming about how it was one of the.
I had Baylor.
One of the worst games that we had watched.
That's right.
It was just a bad offensive football game, and went a double or triple overtime. What it was a fascinating game.
Yeah.
Georgia has the better players. I do. I think that I expect Georgia to win the game, but. It is time for a win or lose. It is time for a fresh start, a new season for Georgia. I mean, they're the number 5 team in the country, and people are ready to get on with the next season. That's how high these guys have gotten, and there's so much. We can talk about this tomorrow. There's so much negativity around things right now because people want what they haven't gotten, which is a national championship.
Real quick, I hear a lot of Georgia fans are not thrilled at all that these guys are sitting and so on and so many. But at the end of the day, if you're Andrew Thomas, I'm not playing. If I'm Andrew Thomas, I'm not playing in this game. If I'm DeAndre Swift, I'm not playing this game. Isaiah Wilson, you should probably play. J.R. Reed, you should probably play. The other guys that, are not playing for other different types of reasons. Right. But Georgia's missing a lot of guys.
I mean, they are missing a lot of guys for sure, but
they're the more talented team.
They're the more talented team. I think the guy that is going to play but will not be at 100% is Swift. That's the person you would like to see.
I'm not expecting much from him.
I'm not either. Yeah, I mean, I think he might touch the ball 6 times.
I think Zamir might have the most carries. I mean, Cook, will get his touches, but if they're trying to run up the middle and pound, I think Zamir is going to get a lot of games.
Yeah, it would be Zamir.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you had the Vanderbilt game, Zamir, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
Well, I say that. I mean, Baylor's front is is solid for sure. They're not bad, but someone was posting today on the site, Baylor's they're not going to have seen a defense like this Georgia defense.
No.
And, the only team that scored over 20 points on Georgia is LSU.
Yeah.
And,
who could have put up 70 last night. If they really wanted to. I mean, that was unreal. But we'll wrap it up right there.
Yeah, go watch Kirby get after everybody in practice in the upper part of the screen, upper left-hand side of the screen. Make sure to subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow. Dean Legge, Matt DeBary. Thanks for listening to Riding Home here on Dog Post.